Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kimberly, writer and teacher. Today we're going to be talking about the review for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm so excited to do this review. You all have no idea. I actually got to see the movie yesterday, whereas in America it's supposed to come out on April 15th. I was able to see it April 14th. For some reason, my theater was showing it a day early, which was just awesome. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the past two movies and just give a quick refresh. If you don't want to hear about those, then you can just skip ahead to this time and it will automatically start the review. So for the very first one, it was in 1926, a British wizard and magizoologist, Newton Scamander, who is known as the main lead, Newt Scamander, arrives in New York City. He observes Mary Lou Barrowborn, a non-magical or known as Muggle no Maj, whichever you want to go with, head of the New Salem Philanthropic Society, preaching that witches and wizards are real and dangerous. Attempting to recapture a Niffler that escaped from his suitcase of magical creatures, Newt meets no Maj Jacob Kowalski, an aspiring baker, and they unwillingly swap suitcases. I actually like this part of the movie. Perpetina, or known as Tina Goldstein, a demoted author of the Magical Congress of the United States, or MACUSA, arrests Newt for breaking magical law. Since the suitcase in his possession only contains Jacob's baked goods, Newt is released. At home, Jacob opens Newt's suitcase and inadvertently frees several creatures into the city. So after Tina and Newt find Jacob and the suitcase, Tina takes them to her apartment and introduces them to Queenie, her legitimate sister. Jacob and Queenie are mutually attracted, though American wizards are forbidden to have any contact with no Mages. Newt takes Jacob inside his suitcase, which is like the magical Mary Poppins bag. Everything can just fit in there. Yeah, it's one of those. Magically expanded to a house of various creatures, including an Obscurus. This is when you first find out about what an Obscurus is. It's a parasite that develops inside magically gifted children with their abilities are suppressed. Those afflicted rarely live past the age of 10. So after they recapture two of the three escaped beasts, Tina returns the suitcase to MACUSA, but they are arrested, as officials believe that one of Newt's creatures is responsible for killing the Senator Henry Shaw Jr., who was actually attacked by a different Obscurus. The director of magical security, Percival Graves, accused Newt of conspiring with infamous dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald and decides to destroy Newt's suitcase and obliviate Jacob's recent memories. If you're unfamiliar, obliviate is removing the previous memories of whatever you're trying to wipe from a person. This is also used in the wizarding world. If you watched Harry Potter, you get to see Hermione use obliviate on her parents right in the Deathly Hallows Part 1, right before she leaves. So that's another time that they use obliviate. Newt and Tina are sentenced to death. Queenie senses this and rescues Jacob before his memory can be wiped, then helps Newt and Tina escape and retrieve Newt's suitcase. A tip from Tina's goblin informant, Narlac, leads the four to recapture the last of the escaped creatures. Graves approaches Credence, who is Mary Lou's adult adopted son, and offers to free him from his abusive mother in exchange for helping to find the Obscurus causing destruction throughout the city. Credence finds a wand under his adopted sister Modesty's bed, which Mary Lou assumes is his. When Credence is about to be punished, the Obscurus kills Mary Lou and her eldest daughter Chastity. Graves, assuming Modesty and the Obscurus host, dismisses Credence as a squib and refuses to teach him magic as he is promised. Credence reveals that he's the real host, having survived due to the intensity of his magic, and attacks the city on broad daylight. So this is one of the biggest turning points, is when you find out Credence is the Obscurus. Newt finds Credence hiding in a subway tunnel, but is attacked by Graves. Tina, who tried to protect Credence from Mary Lou, who is what led her to her demotion, attempts to calm the boy, while Graves tries to convince Credence to listen to him. As Credence returns to human form, MACUSA President Serafina, I'm sorry if I can't pronounce this right, Serafina Pequiri, and the Aurors counterattack, shattering the Obscurus. However, unseen by anyone but Newt, a single wisp of the creature flees the scene. Graves admits he had planned to unleash the Obscurus to expose the magical community to the No-Mages and frame Newt for the incident, though he claims MACUSA's laws openly protect No-Mages at the expense of the magical community. So he no longer cares to live in hiding. Pequiri, I think that's how you say that. I'm so sorry if I'm really bad at pronouncing names. Let's just probably get that across right now. Not good at it at all. So Pequiri orders the Aurors to apprehend Graves, but he defeats them. So Newt captures him with the help of one of his beasts and reveals that Graves is Grindelwald in disguise. This entire time that has been Grindelwald. Not knowing that Graves is still alive, not knowing if Graves is still alive or not. So MACUSA fears their secret world has been exposed, but Newt releases his Thunderbird to disperse the potion that obliterates recent memories over the city as rainfall, while MACUSA wizards repair the destruction and erase the recent events from the news. Queenie kisses Jacob goodbye, and as the rain erases his memories and Newt returns to England, Jacob opens a bakery with pastries resembling Newt's beasts, and when Queenie enters, he smiles at her. So that is how the first one ends. Those are just all of the basic things you need to know about the first one. So now the Crimes of Grindelwald, the two movies were actually, I believe, so 2016 is when Fantastic Beasts, the first one, came out, and Crimes of Grindelwald came out in 2018. That was only 2 years' time. Whereas we waited 3.5 years for The Secrets of Dumbledore. So yeah, it's quite an age time, which you'll be able to see the difference in the characters when you watch the movie. So for the Crimes of Grindelwald, in 1927, the Magical Congress of the United States, or known as MACUSA, transfers the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald to Europe to stand trial, but Grindelwald escapes. 3 months later in London, Newt Scamander visits the Ministry of Magic to appeal his international travel ban and runs into Leta Lestrange, his Hogwarts classmate, and the fiancé of his older brother Theseus. I personally didn't like Leta Lestrange. I felt that she was a boring character, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people disagree with that, so what do I know? Maybe it's just me. That's just my opinion on Leta, but this video is not about her, so let's not stay on her very long. The Ministry agrees to grant Newt request if he helps Theseus locate Credence Barebone, who is still alive in Paris, but Newt declines after learning he must work with the ruthless bounty hunter Gunnar Grimson. I think that's how you say that. Albus Dumbledore asks Newt to find Credence, believing Credence is Leta's long-lost half-brother, Corvus Lestrange V. Now, Newt is visited by his American friends Queenie and Jacob. And since we just talked about them, I won't go over their backstory again. Newt is disappointed to learn that Queenie's sister Tina is seeing someone after mistakenly believing that Newt and Leta were engaged. If you're unaware, Tina is Newt's love interest in the movie, if you're not already familiar with that. You probably are, because he has a picture of her in his case, which I think is so cute. Okay, Queenie leaves to find Tina, who is looking for Credence in Paris. Apparently my mouth doesn't want to talk. Followed by Newt and Jacob. In Paris, Credence escapes the Circus Arcanus with a captive performer, Nagini, a Maledictus, cursed to turn permanently into a snake. So Maledictus is a blood curse, so when at a certain point in her time, she will no longer be able to willingly turn into a snake and back into human. She will forever be a snake, which is how she ended up being Voldemort's snake. I think she was in Albania when Voldemort found her, but that's a totally different video. We're not even going to get into that. Searching for Credence's birth mother, they locate half-elf servant Irma Dugard, who brought him to America for adoption. Grimacin, revealed to be the follower of Grindelwald, who kills Irma before she can reveal who sent her. Tina meets Yusuf Kama, who is also hunting Credence. Newt and Jacob follow Yusuf to Tina, only to find her being held hostage. Yusuf imprisons them as well. Yusuf imprisons them explaining he made an unbreakable vow to kill his half-brother, who he believes to be Credence. If you're unaware what the unbreakable vow is, it's exactly what it sounds like. If you break the vow, you die. That's just as easy as it comes. Unable to find Tina, a distraught Queenie is brought to Grindelwald. Knowing Queenie's abilities, he allows her to leave while manipulating her into joining him through her desire to marry Jacob. So what he does is he tells her that she'll be able to marry Jacob if she joins him. And love will make you do crazy things. So let's just leave that where that is. Newt and Tina infiltrate the French Ministry of Magic for documents to confirm Credence's identity, but are discovered by Leda and Theseus. Tina and Newt reconcile after explaining he was never engaged to Leda. Their search leads them to the Lestrange family tomb, where they find Yusuf confronting Credence and Nagini. Yusuf reveals that he is carrying out his father Mustafa's request to avenge his mother Lorena. She was kidnapped by Corvus Lestrange IV using the Imperious Curse and died giving birth to Leda, Yusuf's half-sister. So Yusuf is actually in the next one, and he becomes kind of important. So we want to make sure that we know that he was Leda's half-brother. Corvus the fourth, got remarried and had Corvus V. He sent Corvus V to America for adoption to keep him safe after discovering Yusuf's revenge plot. Leda reveals that she unintentionally caused Corvus's death sailing to America. Leda, unable to stand his constant crying, switched her baby brother with another infant. Credence, the ship sank, and Corvus drowned. The group follow a trail to a rally for Grindelwald's followers, where Queenie is among the attendings and Jacob is looking for her. Grindelwald shows a vision of the future global war and rails against the laws prohibiting them from preventing such a tragedy. As Theseus and the Aurors surround the rally, Grindelwald prompts his followers to spread his message across Europe and conjures a ring of blue fire that kills the retreating Aurors and that only his most loyal followers can safely cross. So if you're not going to truly follow him, that fire would kill you. Queenie and Credence cross the fire despite Jacob and Nagini's protests, while Leda sacrifices herself so the others can escape. As Grindelwald and his followers depart, the remaining wizards and immortal alchemist Nicholas Flamel extinguish the fire. Newt chooses to join the fight against Grindelwald. At Hogwarts, Newt presents Dumbledore with a vial stolen from Grindelwald by Newt Sniffler, containing a blood pact Grindelwald and Dumbledore made in their youth that prevents them from dueling each other. Dumbledore believes it can be destroyed. At Nurmengard Castle, his Australian base, Grindelwald presents Credence with a wand and reveals Credence's true identity, Aurelius Dumbledore. The movie ends, leaving the question of how Credence is related to the Dumbledore family. Now, having just gone through that, I remember when I first saw that, I was instantly thinking that he was not really a Dumbledore, that he was actually just I believed he was being manipulated by Grindelwald, because that was his style. Grindelwald always wanted to manipulate people to get what he wanted. So I believed that's what he was doing. And we're about to talk about all of that because it will reveal all of that. So if you are just joining us here, this is going to be sort of a spoiler-free portion, and I will get into the spoiler part of it in just a minute. So in the Secrets of Dumbledore, one of the things that happens is it opens in, you already know some of what I'm about to explain, so this isn't going to be in any way anything. It opens where Dumbledore and Grindelwald are having a conversation, and they're talking about what they did previously. And Dumbledore is telling him, I loved you. I was in love with you, which is why I went with you on this. So love can make you do some of the most crazy things. Let's just get that out there in the open. Was the movie good? What would I give it on a 5-star rating? Definitely 5 stars. Is it too scary for children? Yes. I would never bring a child to see that. Any child under the age of 10 at least. There were some parts that were pretty intense, and I will get into that in the spoiler portion. I don't want to give away anything that is too beefy, so we're not going to talk about why it was too graphic, but some of the violence was too violent for children. Some people were too dumb and they brought toddlers to this movie, but I don't know. This movie was so long. You need to be able to sit through it. You can't miss anything. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom, you are missing something vital. Already I'm going to tell you that. You can't miss anything part of this movie. The characters. Now, some of the characters looked different. Like Queenie, I couldn't even tell that it was actually her. I was thinking they actually replaced the actress as they did Grindelwald. But no, she just aged more. I don't know. The movie was 3 years from the last one. So a lot has happened in that time. And you can definitely tell. Would I suggest for you to see this? Yeah. Why are you still here? I mean, when you're done watching this, leave. Go watch this movie. You need to see it. If you are a fan of the Wizarding World, you probably are. That's probably why you're watching this, just be honest. You want to definitely go see this. It was great. Now, we're going to get into the spoiler portion of this. So if you haven't seen it yet, you have been warned. I'm going over all of the spoilers. I'm giving everything away. So you've been warned. Now, this opens in a diner where Dumbledore and Grindelwald are having that conversation I just mentioned. They are talking about why they did what they did. And Dumbledore is very vulnerable in this scene. I liked it. I felt like it was a really ingenious way to open it so that you already knew right out the gate that they were in love. If you didn't know that from the previous movie, though, I can't help you because they talk about it in the previous movie too. But in this one, they give you a straightforward understanding that they were in love. Now, Grindelwald isn't the one telling Dumbledore he loved him. Grindelwald is more just like, yeah, you loved me. I was there for world domination. I was what you needed. And that's it. That's all he was doing pretty much. I didn't feel like Grindelwald cared about Dumbledore. He probably does. It makes sense that he does, but in that scene, I didn't get that from him. Now, the next thing is, if you come into the scene in Quaylin, a quick disclaimer, I am the worst when it comes to pronouncing names. So I'm just going to tell you right now, it's not to be derogatory, it is not racist, I am just that bad at pronouncing names. So please, if I say a name that is wrong in your culture and that it's supposed to be pronounced differently, please understand that it is not a slur, it is not something to be rude. I simply just am not bad at pronouncing names, okay? So let's get on with it. In Quaylin, China in 1932, Newt Scamander helps a Quilin or Keelan, I think that's how they pronounced it in the movie, a Keelan. It's a magical creature that can see into one's soul as well as the future. He watched that creature give birth. So Gellert Grindelwald and his acolytes, led by Credence, attack and kill the mother and kidnap the newborn cub. And so Grindelwald, when he gets this animal, and it's kind of like it looks like a cross between a deer and something else. If you've seen Thestrals in Harry Potter, you'll see how they have like these things that hang down on the side of their head. They're like, I don't know, it's part of the head or just a piece of their hair. Or I don't know what it is, but it's just part of what hangs. So it's kind of like that, has that aesthetic part, as well as it kind of looks like a baby deer. Anyway, it can see into one's soul. So Grindelwald steals it, takes it to its compound, and Queenie is standing in the doorway while this is happening. Credence goes inside, and Grindelwald gets a knife and just kills this creature. going to tell you right now, that was really disturbing. If you know me, you know I have a huge problem with any kind of animal cruelty. Obviously, no real animals were harmed in the making of the movie. They make sure they add that. But it was just so heart-wrenching to see something so pure just die. Sorry, my heart can't handle some of that sometimes. So he kills the creature to harness its ability for precognition. Unbeknownst to him, though, however, the Keelan had birthed 2 babies. It had twins. And so there was another one that survived, and Newt was able to save it. Unable to fight Grindelwald due to the blood pact, Albus Dumbledore recruits Newt, his brother Theseus, American witch Eulalie, known as Lally Hicks. I liked her, by the way. She was so cool, and she was so pretty. You can actually see her in the preview. She's the one who is in the bakery with Jacob, and she's like, "You know I'm a witch, right?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And she's like popping around. She's hilarious, and her magic is so cool. I love her. I just thought she was just gorgeous. Such a wonderful new person to have in the group. I loved her. I can't wait to see more of her. Anyway, and a French wizard, Yusuf, and Jacob Kowalski, he takes all of these people to thwart Grindelwald for his plan for world domination. You also find out that Grindelwald can see the future. So what they're trying to do is throw Grindelwald off as best as they possibly can, because now what they have to do is they have to go through all lengths to possibly save this Keelan. That was the one that the one that Newt was able to actively save. The other twin that didn't die. So they're going through really extreme measures to make sure that this Keelan doesn't die. And then you don't understand exactly why until a little bit later. So Yusuf is planted as a spy for Grindelwald's inner circle, while the rest of the group is sent to Berlin, Germany. Now, you also get a little bit more with Newt's assistant. You actually meet her in the previous movie, I believe. She has worked with him for 8 and some odd years. And she takes his case that has the Keelan in it. And Newt doesn't know what's going on with it. But she tells him, "Not everyone can know everything, even you, Newt." And so she takes his case with Keelan, and she goes to this replicator, and she asks them to replicate the case. She needs 6 additional. So she says half a dozen more. And this was I think this was an Easter egg for Harry Potter, where if you're unfamiliar, in Deathly Hallows Part 1, they have what was called the Tale of the 7 Potters, which was, if you read the books, that's what the chapter was called. And it was where 6 other people took Polyjuice Potion to change into Harry so that there would be all of these different decoys. That's what was happening here. Almost the exact same thing. It was just so nice to see something that kind of gave a little nod to the Harry Potter world. Anyway, so they're doing everything they can to thwart his plans for world domination, and the rest of the group is sent to Berlin, Germany. There, the group witnessed that Grindelwald has been admonished of all of his criminal charges by the International Confederation of Wizards, and subsequently starts running for the Supreme Mugwump, which I think that is like the Muggle and Wizard Prime Minister. I thought that was a weird way to put that, but what am I to say? Mugwump might have been what works the most. And when I saw that he was being acquitted of his charges, I was like, are you serious? Like, oh my God, this is not seriously happening right now. Oh, it was a huge blow. But Grindelwald's acolytes, who have undermined the German Minister of Magic, arrest Theseus and plan to assassinate one of Grindelwald's competitors, the Brazilian candidate, gosh, I'm so sorry if I say this wrong, Vicencia Santos. I still think I said that wrong, but let's just go on with that. Dumbledore gives Newt and Lally their next assignments to rescue Theseus and stop the assassination. We're right at my favorite scene. Oh my god. When they got to the German prison, let me tell you, they ain't fucking around in German. Let's just be honest. That shit was fucked up. So you have to go down into this like tunnel thing underground. Some shit. It was so scary. I was like, oh my god. I'm sitting there expecting something to hit me when obviously nothing was gonna hit me, but it was that intense. They really built the stakes on this part, and if you're a writer, you understand how important building up the stakes for a situation truly are. Anyway, so he's in this place, and he comes to the warden, I guess, or the guard, whatever you want to call that guy. And Newt is actually wearing a tie that Dumbledore gave him. And it has this little shiny thing on it. And when he gives him the prison guard the identification, that he's like, wand. And so he gives him his wand. And the prison guard is using his wand as a metal detector. Ying, ying, ying. And he comes across Pickett in his pocket. And he's like, what's this? And Newt goes, oh, he's just like a pet, virtually harmless. And he's like, he stays. And he finds the Niffler. And the Niffler, he's like, they have to stay. And so they lock him in these little like cages things inside. And it's so funny because you could totally tell Pickett had something he was planning on doing. Well, the guard gives him this little bug. It's like a light bug, and he like shakes it in this lantern, and it's like, I don't even know. It's like the light bug from hell. And he tells Newt to go. He's like, that way. And he's like telling him how to get over there. And he's like, Newt says, I'll be right back. And the guy's like, okay. You don't know why he's acting like that until it gets a little further. So Newt's walking along, right? And on the ground, there's these little things. They're like a crab and something else. I don't know. It's not a crab. It's like crab's funky cousin. Because like they did this thing where they were like this. And so Newt's like trying to talk to him. And the thing is showing him what to do. And he's like that? And they're like, ah. And they all do it. And he's like, shimmy. Shimmy. And how you get around, it's like this big open circular open area. And what you have to do is you have to like shimmy along the wall. So which makes sense why you'd go like that. I guess it makes sense why you go like that, and you have to shimmy around the wall. And you have to hug the wall pretty much. And it was like a whole fleet of these little like crab thingy-wingies. But every now and then, like this scorpion monstrosity of hell from the bottom of the pit came up, and it was like the scorpion tail thing. And it would like stab someone and take them down and spit them back up as this blob of shit. Like, it was so gross. But every single time that thing came, I was like, oh my god. And I don't like bugs. So when I saw a scorpion tail, I was like, ah! And then it like grabs you. It's so weird. It like stings you, grabs you, eats you, and spits you back out up there. So he finds Theseus, right? As soon as it gets dark, that's when this thing comes out. And oh my god, it was insane. So anyway, he finds Theseus, right? And the little light thingy goes out, and they just barely escape because Pickett and the Niffler end up getting out of their little cages. And Newt gets his wand back because they hurry up and run to him. And right as they are about to die, Newt is able to save everybody by apparating out of there. So amazing. I mean, just amazing. I was freaking out that whole time. Whew. Okay, so while Newt rescues his brother from the secret German wizarding prison, Lally and Jacob thwart the assassination attempt. However, Jacob is subsequently framed for attempting to kill Grindelwald as he and Lally barely escape, giving Grindelwald an incentive to turn the wizarding world against the Muggle world. So what happens is Jacob sees Queenie at this dinner, and he's like, I want her back. So he goes over to Grindelwald and he holds up the fake wand that has no core. So in the preview, you see him get a wand. This is part of the whole throwing Grindelwald off of his whole world domination thing. As he's expected to have some sort of play in it. So he thinks that Jacob is actually a wizard at first. So when he points the wand at him and tells him to release Queenie so that they could be together, after that, he ends up holding his wand up because Grindelwald says, "You're trying to assassinate me." It starts this whole pandemonium of stuff. What ends up happening is Lally uses her magic to cause Jacob to look as though he's doing magic. I was so disappointed because I really was hoping that Jacob was actually a wizard that was missed by the I actually thought that Jacob was going to be a Muggle-born who just happened to have gotten missed and didn't go to Hogwarts or wherever. But nope, that didn't turn out to be the case. Anyway, so this is when you actually get to see Lally, a lot of Lally's amazing magic. Dumbledore mentions earlier in the movie that she has some of the best defensive magic. And he's not kidding. That was some crazy shit that she did. But it was so cool. And you get the portkey. A portkey in this one is a particular book that she has. So she'll like open the book and it starts like shooting pages all over the place to cause a distraction, and she and Jacob like run up the pages to disappear, and she barely grabs his hand and they apparate out of there. Just so cool. It was totally worth it. So they escape. Meanwhile, Grindelwald has sent Credence to assassinate Dumbledore. Now, this is where in the previews you see Credence and Dumbledore fighting or something, and then you see a switch of the world, and it looks like they're in like a different dimension. This is when this is happening, and Dumbledore's magic is no joke, man. I know that we all know that Dumbledore is cool as fuck, but still, this was some of the coolest Dumbledore magic I've ever seen. And it makes me think that his Deluminator had something to do with it, because he clicks something and then it changes everything. So I wonder if it's like in the mind or what's happening with that, because it doesn't really give a lot of information. But through this talk that him and Dumbledore have, this is when it's revealed that Credence is the illegitimate son of Dumbledore's brother Aberforth. So, he's a real Dumbledore. I didn't see that coming. I honestly thought that he was going to be just a ploy for Grindelwald. That's not what happened. It's a true Dumbledore. And he also has, throughout the entire movie, you see the Phoenix following him. And it's said that he is dying. And so, therefore, the Phoenix is just following him around. So the leaders of the wizarding world gather in Bhutan, where the new supreme Mugwump, I think that's how you say that, is elected by the ancient tradition to be found worthy by the Keelan, who bows to those pure of heart. Here's the part that was pretty disturbing. Using necromancy. This is something you don't ever see in the Harry Potter movies, and that we haven't seen yet. Using necromancy to revive the Keelan he killed earlier, Grindelwald has it bowed to him during the walk of the Keelan ceremony, thus manipulating the election. So after he kills the fucking thing, he uses necromancy to bring his bitch ass back to life, just so he could become another pawn for Grindelwald. And what's funny is actually when he's discovered, it's funny that the German Minister of Magic who actually admonished Grindelwald's crimes, he's sitting there holding the Keelan and he's like, no, man, it's real. This thing's real. And then it dies in his arms and he's like, and he doesn't know what to do. And he realized he was just fucked over. That was a real privilege to see that, because this guy was all kinds of stupid in the movie. Anyway, he immediately declares wars on the Muggles and tortures Jacob for trying to assassinate him. Like, he takes Jacob's wand, and I think this is when he realizes that the wand is fake, because the wand doesn't have a core. If you know anything about wand lore in the wizarding world, every single wand has a core. Dragon, heartstring, phoenix. There's several different ones. I'm not going to get into all of them, but every single one will have a core, which is what powers the magic in the wand. This one has no core. So when he picks up the wand, he says, this has no core. This is a muggle, and declares war against the Muggles for Jacob trying to assassinate him, in which case he uses the Cruciatus curse against him. And Jacob is on the ground, obviously suffering. Cruciatus curse is just torture without actually doing anything. This is what I mean by this is not a children's movie. This is not something that you want to take your kid to who is like 7, okay? Make sure that you see this movie first, because it is, I'm gonna guarantee you, it's not a kid's movie. So anyway, one of the other candidates who was running for the Mugwump ends up using her magic. Venencia, is that how I say her name? Vicencia Santos uses her magic to release Jacob from the Cruciatus curse. Oh my gosh, I was finally able to breathe. I cannot watch someone be tortured, even though it's fake. Yes, I get it. It's not real. Okay. But it was just so intense that it felt so real. Anyway, Credence and Queenie and Newt expose Grindelwald. The surviving Keelan is produced. So they end up all having a case. So before all of this goes down, there is a scene where they all come into the room of requirement. What's funny, because as I already knew they were going to use the room of requirement in this without even needing to know, because you see it on the preview. But before I even knew that, I knew they were going to use the room of requirement. And it's funny because Jacob walks in and he goes, what is this room? And Newt's like, the room that we require. And I started laughing, but I couldn't help it. And they had 5 cases in a circle. And each person was instructed to grab a case, because this is what Grindelwald's people were looking for, was this case, to make sure that this other Keelan, they didn't know that there was another Keelan, but they wanted to get their hands on this case. So they had all of these people trying to get the case before they made it to the final scene, which is what we're talking about now. I made this point because this is where when the Keelan comes out, they had a case that his Newt's assistant, who had told him, you can't know everything, even no one can know everything, even you. She was the one who had the real case, and she actually produces the Keelan, and they tell him that the Keelan was a twin and this one is alive, and so they put it down for it to walk and find whoever it deems worthy. And what ends up happening is it bows to Dumbledore. And Dumbledore comes down and he's like, I'm honored, but there's got to be someone else. And he's trying to tell the Keelan that there's another one. It's not me. So the Keelan decides to walk around looking for someone else and eventually bows to Vicencia Santos. And I was so elated that they let her win the election, which was great. She totally deserved it. She's gorgeous, and the fact that she saved Jacob when she didn't necessarily have to, it was against what she should have been doing. She gained my vote. Okay, so anyway, after the Keelan bows to Santos, Grindelwald, enraged by this, tries to kill Credence. He shoots the killing curse at him, and Albus and Aberforth both shoot a protecting charm to protect Credence. The ensuing contact of the two spells breaks the blood pact that prevented Dumbledore and Grindelwald from attacking each other, starting the battle between the two. So I didn't see this coming. I didn't think this was how they were going to break the blood pact, but I am amazed at the writing that they did for it. This was just wonderful. Okay, so fighting into a stalemate, Grindelwald eventually retreats. In the aftermath, the dying Credence is accepted by Aberforth to return home, and Jacob and Queenie marry in the former bakery in New York City, where most of the group, and finally Tina finally shows up. This entire time throughout the entire movie, I kept hoping that one of the people there were going to be Tina, who was just in disguise, and that totally didn't happen. I wanted her to be somebody who was in the group the entire time and just sort of under Polyjuice Potion or something for whatever reason. But that didn't happen. Tina came at the very, 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 very end, last scene of the movie. Dumbledore watches the ceremony from afar and afterwards briefly thanks Newt for departing before departing alone into the night. So this is how it ends right here. It's just Dumbledore leaving like that. It was so great. And you know, don't bother waiting for an after credit scene. We waited for fucking ever. Not even kidding. We were like, there was an after credit scene for the first one, the second one. Why wouldn't there be one for this? No. But, you know, it does make sense that Fantastic Beasts film series was originally speculated to be a trilogy, but in October 2016, J.K. Rowling announced that the series would be composed of 5 films, later confirming the story of the series would consist of a sequence of events that occurred between the years of 1926 and 1945. In February 2022, producer David Heyman revealed the work for the script of Fantastic Beasts 4 has not begun yet. So they, as of February 2022, Fantastic Beasts 4 script hadn't been started yet, and so we don't know where that's going to go next. I am ecstatic to see where they take the series after this. Hopefully we don't need to wait another 3 years for the next movie. I felt like we waited for fucking ever for this one to come out, and it didn't disappoint, let's just be honest. It was great in so many ways. But when it comes down to it, I really wanted it to come out a little bit earlier. It was supposed to come out over a year ago, but it didn't for many reasons. COVID was most of it, but whatever. If you like this video, please subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. If you've seen it, tell me what you thought in the comments, because I want to know what you think. This was an amazing movie. And if you felt different, let me know. Or what was your favorite scene? Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.